Daniel was on the brink of madness. Cassandra made him an offer. "Marry me again, and I'll forgive you." He agreed, thinking he had won. But Cassandra had trick up her sleeve. He was in her trap. A scorned wife, once abandoned for her weight, reinvents herself as a powerful heiress and exacts the ultimate revenge, leaving her ex-husband begging. But we start the video. Let us know where you're watching this video, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe, Story Store, and please share your thoughts about this story in comment section. The cold rain lashed against the pavement, turning the city streets into a glistening mosaic of reflections. Neon lights flickered against the wet ground, their glow distorted by the rippling puddles. In the middle of it all, Daniel Sinclair knelt, his expensive suit soaked through, his body trembling. "Please, Cassandra." His voice cracked, desperation lacing every syllable. "Please, forgive me." His hands reached out, fingers numb from the cold and the weight of his regret. Yet the woman before him remained unmoved, her crimson lips curving into a knowing smirk. Cassandra Montgomery, no longer the woman he had discarded, stood above him like a queen surveying a fallen subject. Her elegant black gown clung to her flawless figure, her sapphire eyes reflecting nothing but indifference. Around them, a crowd had gathered. Strangers whispered, their hushed voices carrying over the rain. Flashbulbs burst like tiny explosions as paparazzi captured the moment, an image of utter humiliation for a man who had once reveled in power. The media had long followed Cassandra's meteoric rise, and now they bore witness to the poetic downfall of the man who had wronged her. Daniel could hardly recognize the woman before him. Gone was the timid, devoted wife he had abandoned. The woman standing in front of him was a vision of beauty, strength, and untouchable power. How had she changed so much? How had the once overweight woman he had ridiculed transformed into the breathtaking enigma before him? And more importantly, could she ever forgive him? Cassandra's gaze swept over him, measuring, calculating. Then, ever so slowly, she crouched to his level, the world around them disappearing into silence. "Forgive you," she mused, her voice soft yet sharp as glass. "Tell me, Daniel, when you left me broken and humiliated, did you ever think I would rise from the ashes?" He swallowed hard, unable to answer. She let out a low, mocking laugh. "Look at you now, kneeling in the filth, begging like a dog. How ironic. The great Daniel Sinclair, once so proud, now nothing more than a pitiful, drenched mess." He gritted his teeth, his shame burning hotter than the cold rain on his skin. I was wrong, Cassandra. I was a fool." Her smirk deepened. "Oh, darling, fool doesn't even begin to describe you." She leaned in, her lips inches from his ear. "You should have known better." And with that, she rose, turned, and walked away, leaving Daniel on his knees, drowning, not in the rain, but in his own regret. 5 years ago, Cassandra Montgomery was a woman in love, blinded, devoted, and willing to sacrifice everything for Daniel Sinclair. She had turned her back on her billionaire family's empire, choosing love over luxury, believing with all her heart that what they had was real. She traded champagne galas for quiet dinners, diamonds for whispered promises, and a life of wealth for the warmth of her husband's arms. But love, as she learned too late, was never enough. At first, Daniel adored her. He would pull her close at night, tracing soft kisses along her shoulder, whispering how lucky he was to have her. But then, things changed. Stress crept in, loneliness took root, and with every skipped gym session and every emotional bite, her body began to change. And as the weight increased, Daniel's affection decreased. He stopped holding her like he used to. His kisses became fleeting. His eyes roamed elsewhere. Then came the ultimate betrayal. It was a stormy evening when Cassandra returned home earlier than expected. She heard muffled laughter from upstairs. Her heartbeat pounded as she ascended, her fingers trembling as she pushed open the bedroom door. There they were, Daniel and Angela, her best friend, tangled in the silk sheets of their marital bed. Angela's delicate fingers ran down his chest, her lips murmuring sweet nothings against his skin. And Daniel? He didn't look guilty. He didn't look ashamed. He only smirked as he traced a finger along Angela's jaw and said, "Can you blame me? Look at her, and then look at you." A sharp, cold silence filled the room. Cassandra's world shattered. That night, with nothing but heartbreak and determination, she walked out the door, vowing that one day he would regret every word. Cassandra had walked away from Daniel with nothing but the clothes on her back and a heart full of rage, but what he never realized, what no one had ever truly understood, was that she was never just an abandoned wife. She was Cassandra Montgomery, heir to a vast empire that stretched across continents. That night, she returned to the family estate, the grand Montgomery mansion standing tall like an unshaken fortress. Her father, a stern yet wise man, welcomed her with open arms, knowing that his daughter had finally seen the truth. Heartbreak became her fuel. She didn't just transform physically, she reshaped her mind, her will, her destiny. The best trainers sculpted her body, the most brilliant mentors sharpened her business acumen. Every grueling workout, every sleepless night, every bitter tear was a step toward vengeance. By the time 3 years had passed, the fragile woman Daniel had discarded no longer existed. In her place stood a force to be reckoned with. Cassandra Montgomery, a woman of power, wealth, and breathtaking beauty. She had returned to claim everything she had lost, and Daniel Sinclair would soon learn the price of his betrayal. The gala shimmered with golden light, the air thick with power and prestige. It was a place for the elite, for those who commanded respect. And tonight it was Cassandra Montgomery's stage. She stepped into the ballroom, a vision in black silk, her gown hugging her sculpted frame in all the right places. The diamonds at her throat sparkled like the stars, but nothing shone brighter than the fire in her sapphire eyes. Across the room, Daniel Sinclair nursed a glass of whiskey, unaware that his past was about to haunt him. He turned and froze. She was breathtaking. Men whispered, women gawked. Who was this goddess who had walked among them? Daniel, captivated, felt the pull of an inexplicable force. He adjusted his tie, smoothed his hair, and approached her, confidence oozing from every step. "I don't believe we've met," he said, flashing the same charming smile that had once stolen hearts. Cassandra tilted her head, her lips curving slightly. "Oh, Mr. Sinclair," she purred. "I believe we have met. Once upon a time." The color drained from his face. "Cassandra?" he choked out, his fingers tightening around his glass. She sipped her champagne, savoring the moment. "Surprised to see me?" Daniel's mind reeled. How? How had the woman he discarded become this? She was no longer the insecure wife he had abandoned. She was untouchable, powerful, intoxicating. And for the first time in his life, Daniel Sinclair felt something new. Fear. Daniel was a man accustomed to control, to having the upper hand in every situation. But now, standing before Cassandra, he felt powerless. His mind raced. He had expected her to fade into obscurity, to live a life of regret. Instead, she had risen like a phoenix, more breathtaking and formidable than he ever could have imagined. And now she was playing a game, one he wasn't sure he could win. Daniel pursued her relentlessly. He sent flowers, invitations. even public gestures of apology, but Cassandra remained distant, aloof. Each time he thought he was getting close, she would vanish, leaving him grasping at nothing. One evening, he finally cornered her at a high-profile charity event. "Cassandra," he murmured, his voice low with longing, "have dinner with me." She tilted her head, a slow, knowing smile gracing her lips. "And why would I do that, Daniel?" "Because we were once something," he said desperately. "Because I can't stop thinking about you." She leaned in, her breath warm against his ear. "You only want me now because I'm what you desire," she whispered. "But tell me, Daniel, would you have fought for me when I needed you the most?" With that, she walked away, leaving him drowning in the truth he had long ignored. Daniel was spiraling, desperate to reclaim the woman he once discarded. He became obsessed, chasing Cassandra like a man possessed. Every rejection only fueled his desire more. He needed to win her back, to undo the damage he had done. Then, one evening, she made him an offer. "Marry me again, Daniel," Cassandra said, her voice smooth as silk. "Marry me and I'll forgive you." His heart pounded. This was it, his second chance. "Yes," he breathed. "Anything, Cassandra." But Cassandra's smile held secrets, her sapphire eyes gleaming with something he couldn't quite place. She was offering him everything he had begged for. But at what cost? The wedding was set. The media buzzed, the world believed in their grand reconciliation. Daniel had no idea he was walking into the most exquisite trap ever laid. The grand hall glittered with opulence, chandeliers casting golden light over an elite crowd dressed in their finest. The world's eyes were on this wedding, the highly anticipated reunion of Daniel Sinclair and Cassandra Montgomery. Cameras flashed, guests whispered, the air thick with curiosity and excitement. Daniel stood at the altar, adjusting his cufflinks, his heart racing. He had won. Cassandra was his again. The nightmare of losing her was over. Soon she would be his wife once more, bound to him forever. The music swelled. Heads turned as Cassandra appeared at the entrance, breathtaking in an ivory gown that hugged her curves like it had been sculpted for her. She moved gracefully down the aisle, every step deliberate, every glance filled with mystery. But as she reached the altar, she did not take Daniel's hand. Instead, the massive screen behind them flickered to life. A video played. Grainy footage of Daniel in their old bedroom, laughing, holding Angela close. His voice echoed through the hall. "Can you blame me? Look at her, and then look at you." Gasps filled the room, the color drained from Daniel's face. Cassandra turned to him, her voice calm yet razor-sharp. "This was the man I almost gave my life to, but today I return his love with the same cruelty he once showed me." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Daniel alone at the altar, drowning in his own disgrace. Daniel Sinclair had once been a man at the top, a respected corporate powerhouse, envied by many. But after the wedding disaster, he became a pariah. The video spread like wildfire, broadcasted across media outlets and whispered in boardrooms. His betrayal, once hidden behind closed doors, was now public humiliation. Companies severed ties. Investors withdrew. His once loyal friends stopped answering his calls. Even Angela, the woman he had risked everything for, disappeared without a trace. His mansion, his luxury cars, his lavish lifestyle, one by one, they slipped from his grasp. All that remained was the weight of his mistakes and the bitter taste of regret. He tried to salvage what was left of his career, but no one trusted him. His downfall became a cautionary tale, whispered among the powerful. Betray the wrong woman, and you might lose everything. As the weeks passed, Daniel found himself alone, drowning in whiskey and memories. He watched Cassandra rise higher, her name shining brighter than ever. She had destroyed him with nothing but the truth, and he had given her the weapon himself. For the first time in his life, Daniel realized he had lost more than wealth. He had lost the only woman who had ever truly loved him. The rain poured relentlessly, drenching the empty streets as Daniel stumbled through the city, his once pristine suit now a crumpled mess. His shoes, once polished to perfection, splashed through puddles, but he didn't care. He had nothing left to lose. He found her outside a high-rise building, her empire standing tall behind her like an impenetrable fortress. Cassandra Montgomery, radiant even in the storm, glanced down at him as he fell to his knees. "Please," Daniel's voice cracked. "Cassandra, I've changed. I love you." She crouched beside him, the scent of her perfume teasing him with memories of a life he had thrown away. She gently cupped his face, her sapphire eyes unreadable. For a fleeting moment, hope flickered in his chest. Then she spoke. "The sad part, Daniel, is that I once loved you more than anything." Her voice was soft, almost mournful. "But now I only love the woman I became because of your cruelty." She stood, her silhouette strong against the city lights. Without another word, she walked away, leaving him kneeling in the rain, broken and forgotten. And this time, there was no redemption. As Cassandra stepped away from Daniel, a familiar voice called out from the entrance of the towering building behind her. "Cassandra, are you ready?" Daniel's gaze shifted, his stomach twisting as he saw James, Cassandra's childhood friend. The man he had always dismissed as insignificant. But now James stood tall, confident, a reassuring presence beside Cassandra. She turned toward him, her expression softening in a way Daniel had never seen before. James extended his hand, and without hesitation she took it. The warmth between them was undeniable. James brushed a damp strand of hair from her face, his touch lingering. "You don't have to deal with ghosts from the past anymore," he murmured, his voice meant for her alone, but loud enough for Daniel to hear. Cassandra smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. "I already left them behind." Daniel clenched his fists, pain and jealousy crashing over him. He had never seen Cassandra look at him that way, not with that kind of love, that kind of peace. James placed a protective hand on the small of Cassandra's back, leading her inside as she cast one last look at Daniel. Not with anger, not with hatred, just indifference. Daniel watched them disappear behind the glass doors, the realization cutting deeper than any betrayal. She was finally free, and he was truly alone. Cassandra stood in her office, gazing out at the city skyline. The world that once seemed cruel and lonely was now hers to conquer. The past no longer haunted her. It had shaped her into the woman she was today, strong, fearless, and in control of her own destiny. James entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You look deep in thought," he said, placing one on her desk. She turned to him, a soft smile on her lips. "Just thinking about how far I've come." He leaned against the desk, studying her. "You deserve every bit of success, Cassandra, and you deserve happiness." She met his gaze, warmth filling her chest. "I think, for the first time in a long while, I finally have both." James reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. There was no rush, no need for grand gestures, just understanding and quiet certainty. Meanwhile, across the city, Daniel sat alone in a dingy motel room, watching the rain streak down the window. His reflection stared back at him, empty, broken, and forgotten by the world. Cassandra had moved on, and this time she was never looking back. Years later, A figure stood outside the towering Cassandra Montgomery Enterprises, his coat tattered, his once proud posture reduced to a slouch. Daniel Sinclair stared up at the golden letters, his name long erased from every place of power. Inside, Cassandra sat in a grand office, overlooking the city she now ruled. James entered, placing a kiss on her temple. "Thinking about the past?" he asked. She chuckled softly. "Number just, appreciating the present." Down below, Daniel watched as security guards approached. He took one last look at the life he could have had before turning away into obscurity. Cassandra sipped her coffee, content. She had not only survived, she had won.